forward to discussing the investment opportunities in red pine exploration. We believe it's an exciting story as we have exploration potential, we have near-term production, and most importantly, we have record high gold price. So it's a very exciting time at red pine, and we're trying to take advantage of this higher share price. And I'm just going to try to share. Thank you very much. So as I mentioned, the exciting opportunity at red pine is because we're an exploration company and exploration companies have been overvalued for the last number of years. We believe we're undervalued compared to our peers. And there's a couple of really important reasons for that. One reason is that we have an underground and open pit mineable resource, and we also have a lot of exploration potential. And as we're exploring right now, we're looking to expand that resource base. We have about 1.7 million ounces. We're looking to expand that over time up to 3 million ounces. But what's really important, if you look at the map, we're based in central Canada, in northwestern Ontario on the north shore of Lake Superior. And we're really in the center of a very historic gold mining district. And we're currently surrounded now by a number of significant companies that have done very well over the last couple of years. One being Wesdome Gold Mines that operates the Eagle River Mine, the Michaud mine, which is operated now by Alamos Gold, who's a $15 billion company. And then we have Barrick and Vault Minerals further to the west. So because of our location in the center of these companies, the infrastructure is excellent in the area. They all have operating mills, which means that for the future, for our near-term potential, we have the opportunity to develop the resource ourselves and build our own plant. However, having infrastructure in the area already, a quicker step to production would be to partner with some of our surrounding mining companies in the area, and produce our ore there. So we could reach production at a much faster rate and therefore add a lot more value to this company as we switch or convert from an exploration company into an operating mine. This is a plan view of the area. You can see the property is about 10 kilometers long, so it's very big. And why I joined this company as the CEO is because in Ontario and Quebec and Manitoba and central Canada, there's a lot of old mining districts. And at that time, in the 30s to the 60s, a lot of small operations because of fragmented properties. Now we have a large land package. We have over 6 kilometers of a very past producing trend. And a lot of the ground is patented, which means we own the surface rights and the mining rights. So it's quicker to get permits. But a lot of these areas it's a big gold system. And a lot of these old mines never went down at depth because a lot of them didn't have drilling technology at the time. Of course, now we do. But now we own 100% of the property, and we have a new geologic model, and we've assembled all of these drill data together, and we've come up with a resource that is now open pit and underground. And these old mining areas are really important in central Canada because for an example, if you look at OTCQB Mining recently sold their property. It had a very similar look to this, where it was an old mining area, long forgotten. Everybody walked away. And then they assembled the package. They did some deeper drilling. They found a lot of gold, and they sold it to Goldfields Mining for $2 billion. So that was a real success story. And we believe we have the same ingredients to do the same thing here. So it's a very exciting time as we are doing the drilling, getting results, getting a good news flow, and getting the word out that we can produce at this project. So that's why we're excited about what we've done in the past and where we're going for the rest of the year and beyond that. And just an example of how underexplored our property is, you look at the long section. So this is the side view of the deposits in the area. You can see Alamos Gold in the middle. They're down to about over a kilometer. Wesdome Gold Mines is down over a kilometer. And the Red Pine deposit, looking at it on the right-hand side of the screen, is only down 300 meters. And that's simply because it just hasn't seen the same level of exploration. And our drilling indicates that it does continue up depth. It just hasn't been drilled yet. So that's part of the program that we're actually working on right now with 2 drills turning. If you look at our resource base, we have a good grade for an open pit, around 1.5 grams per ton with about 1.5 million ounces in open pit. And then we also have a small underground resource near 4 grams per ton, which that we could mine from underground. Now, this is our first pass resource estimate. We just updated the resource in the fall of last year, and we used that increase in the resource base of 150% to market the company, and we raised $11 million, a lot of it in hard dollars, so it's in good hands. A lot of institutional investors came in, and we're using this money to drill it to make this deposit even bigger than what we have already. But the beauty is that we can do the exploration, but at the same time, we can actually be looking at starting an open pit or an underground at the same time to raise money that we can further invest into the property. Here's a longitudinal section looking at the side of the deposit. You can see the outline in red of an open pit and where the zone continues at depth. And that's currently where we are drilling. Again, this shows the side of the deposit. You can see in red the resources that exist. And our recent drill results that we've started, you can see that we have already started to expand the zone of mineralization, and going to be adding more gold to the resource space as we go. But the beauty of this deposit, if you look at it, you can see that there's near surface mineralization that easily fits into an open pit, and then the deeper material that we can get from an underground. And that optimization of how we would mine it out still needs to be done. And it's going to be something that we're working on now, particularly with the increase in gold price. We can now fast track this into something that could be in production where we could start making cash flow. And I just don't think that value and the value of the infrastructure around the site is part of our valuation. We're really only thought of as an exploration company, but we have a lot more to offer. And our plan so far, like I said, last year we added 150% to the number of ounces in the deposit. We went out, we raised $11 million. We've started our 25,000 meter drill program in December of last year. We've drilled about 8,000 meters so far, so we have about 17,000 meters left to go. And that should be finished in July or August. We currently have 2 drills, and that's what's creating the good news flow. We're certainly starting to see, the volume picking up in the share price as we're getting a nice steady news flow out to the market. And then we're started our internal conceptual studies so we can figure out the best way to get this deposit started, which will update the resource when the drilling is done. And then we move to a preliminary economic assessment. And we're just evaluating the timing of that study and who will do that. When we look at our shareholding, Alamos Gold Mines, who I showed on the earlier slide, they own the mine 70 kilometers away from ours. They have a big processing facility. They're our largest shareholder. So it's good to have a big brother sometimes, and they certainly have been supportive over the years. They currently own 13% of our stock, and they may be one of the people in the area that will be our partner in the end. But as part of the financing, we brought in some other well-known names. We brought in Mackenzie, Gold 2000, a Swiss investment firm. We brought in the Royal Bank in Canada, and we brought in Merck for about 10%, and they're based in New York. So it's good that we have a strong institutional holding now. They're in the order of about 35 to 40%. So that's a good mix of institutional and retail investors. So we have some liquidity, but some good long-term shareholders. And we have coverage now from 2 of the research firms. Haywood, who has followed us for quite some time, Pierre Vaillancourt, and Research Capital, Stuart McDougall is analyst, and they have a target price on our shares at 40 cents. Currently, we trade at 12 cents. So certainly they believe in the story, and we have some ways to go to get up to that level. Of interest, Franco-Nevada, who's a very large royalty company based in Canada, they bought a royalty on the property, a 1.5% royalty for around $7 million. And they did that in 2023. They certainly see the value of this property and the value and the potential of it being a mine. That's why they bought the royalty. So they've been very supportive, and it certainly shows their belief in this project to be a mine. This is a comparable that was put together with some of our peers. It was put together by Haywood. And I think the interesting thing to note here is just how undervalued we are to our peers. I think we're being compared to on an ounce value per ounce basis only $11. We have almost 2 million ounces in the ground now. We're looking to go up to 3 million ounces. Well, I think what's important is we're valued less than most of our peers on a dollar per ounce value, and some of that is compared to projects that are really in much more northern locations than us. So they're really in the middle of nowhere. So I don't believe that we have any component in our value for the exploration potential that we have, or which I think is even more important, is for our proximity to existing infrastructure. So that means if we don't have to build a mill and we don't have to build a tailings, we can fast track to production. And also it saves us the money of putting that CapEx in, which is very hard to estimate these days. As you know, many projects have gone over budget with their work. So we certainly have a big upside there. And I don't think people see the value of that until I think that we can start to show people in public documents, is what we're starting to work on now. And once those are out, I think you'll see a real kick in the share price. And in the meantime, we're going to continue the drilling and have good drilling results and show how big this can really be. So I think we have a couple of different fronts that we're working on to show how positive this company is and how positive this project is. So that's our goal for this year. And really, when I look at the value of this company, it is 100% owned. It's a large property. It has a big resource, and it's both underground and open pit. And we have an opportunity to fast track that into production by ourselves or with a partner in the area. That would certainly save us some time and save us a lot of cost. So we certainly like that opportunity. And we have money in the bank. The 2 drills are turning. They will be for some time. And we hope to be able to show that value in the share price going forward. So that's really the story at Red Pine Exploration. As I mentioned, it's a good investment opportunity, and we're excited because of the gold price, and we're starting to see that more buying into the company now as they start to realize it's more than just an exploration story. Even that's good enough in itself. We believe there's a bigger story here, and that's the near-term production side, and that's going to continue to come out throughout the year as we do more and more studies and we have public documentation to show people. So we're excited about where we're going, and we have a full complement of staff at site. We have a full camp. So all the money that we raise, over 80% goes into the ground in drilling. So we're very efficient, and part of that is just having really great infrastructure to work with. So thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Great insights. So let's dive into the Q&A session. Lots of questions here. We have some free time, so we try to cover them all. First is from Stefan. He asking about what stage is permitting and community consultation?
We have in our consultation, we have exploration agreements signed with our 3 First Nations groups. So when we have a very good working relationship, we have a number of First Nations people working at the site. And It certainly helps with any permitting that we would have to do going forward. Like I said, it's for exploration. If we go to a mining stage, we would have to update them into a mining impacts benefit agreement. But we certainly believe that this is very doable with the relationship that we have and the people already working at site and the benefits that we could offer. So we're happy with that. As far as the permitting goes, it was a past mining area. We actually have a mining permit and we have a closure plan that's existing. Now, when we decide that we would need to mine a pit or go to underground, and now those details are finals, we would have to update that closure plan. But right now we have all the permits to drill, and we just need to update our closure plan to start the mining. And because it's patented land, in a lot of those areas that were dark brown on that previous slide, we can drill without a permit because we own that land. It's a patent, so it's actually like owning the deed to your house. So you can do really whatever you want on your property. If it starts to impact the environment around there, then we would need a larger permit. But for now, we're certainly have all the permits we need to do the work.
Great, great, good to hear. Next question is that from Bill. He asked, you seems to have a good industrial base of shareholders, but management percent a little bit low for such stage of a company. So any comments on this?
I think it's a lot to do with the fact that it's a very new management team. The old management team was changed out in the early part of 2024. So the new management team has come in and have been starting. We only did one financings, which the management did participate in, and we expect to. It's hard for the management to buy off the market. So in the next financing stage, which could be later this year, we would expect management to continue to increase their percentage in the company because we can certainly see the upside for this. So and like I said, I think that's why it's behind compared to other companies, and it was an existing company for quite some time. So that management's already left. So this is a new management. Now I just joined in July of last year.
I see, I see. Okay. Also, there's some questions regarding the Wawa Gold project. So one thing is that, is there any surface facilities such as tailings in Wawa region?
There is the available working facilities are around at the Alamos mine and the Wesdome mine, and they're both within 100 kilometers of our site. And we'd maybe want to be able to take advantage of having those facilities there. On our own property, we have roads, we have generator power, but we're within a kilometer of the main power grid. We have a camp, a full access camp and core logging facilities and roads throughout the property. We do have some lay down areas for waste rock that we would expand on. And depending on the path forward, whether we go right to an underground or whether we start with a small pit and then an underground, that would determine a bit more about what the infrastructure would have. But ideally, we could mine this, quickly put it in a truck and haul it down the road and pay the custom milling and avoid all of the capex for a mill in the tailings area.
Okay, great, great answer. So next question is that what's the potential of Wawa? How possible to increase the resource to 3 million ounce?
Yeah, it's a very big gold system, and you can see from the drilling that we've done already, we're expanding the zone quite far already. When we started the drilling, we didn't want to drill beside other holes just to get good intersections for a press release. We wanted to be very bold. We told people that when we raised the money. We just had a 600-meter step out hole that we put in our press release. We ended up getting close to 20 grams per ton over a couple of meters. So show it's very high grade at depth, and it's 600 meters away from our nearest hole. So we are definitely adding ounces. Going to be adding ounces fast here to this project, and that's really what we wanted to do with this work. And I think even outside of where we're drilling now, further to the south on the property, we'd some exploratory drilling and some prospecting late last year. We did show that the zone continues, several kilometers further to the south that haven't been tested yet. But that was just, I always want to drill everywhere, but that's for, I would say, future drilling programs to follow up on that.
I see, makes sense. One last question is that are there any additional catalysts this year besides resource updates so investors can watch for? Yeah.
I think there'll be a steady news flow from the drilling. And then I would like to think that there'll be some news on, the direction we're going to investigate and what's the results of starting to look at a near-term production scenario. And that's going to require some work. And I think as that news starts to come out, I think people will really start to say, wow, this is an exploration company that really can make a deposit a lot bigger. But in the meantime, they also have some part of that deposit they could bring in production in a relatively short term and get some cash in the door. So wouldn't have to go back to the market for additional funds for drilling and whatnot. We'd be able to get that off the back of production. So that's something that will start to come out later this year. And I think that's going to be a big catalyst as well.